nations, democracies don't go to war easily, and they usually debate and argue before they do. Sometimes they have to be bombed into going to war. In fact, that's what happened in World War II. All of Europe had been conquered. America was actually bombed in Pearl Harbor, and that was a pivotal event that opened the eyes of Americans. And once their eyes were opened, they gathered the power that is available in this great free nation, and the result was preordained. I think in a similar way, the bombing of September 11th opened the eyes of Americans to see the great conflict and the great danger that faces us. And once opened, then the overpowering will of the majority of the people of the United States, of the steamroller, is inexorably moving to decide this battle.
מה קורה? מה קורה? לא,
כמה דקות מאוחר יותר המצלמה שוב נדלקת, ונתניהו פורס בפני מארחיו את משנתו המדינית, בלי מרכאות, בלי מסכות.
לא העיקרי, קודם כל, לתת להם מכות, לא רק מכות כל כך מכירות, שהמחיר יהיה כבד מצום. כרגע המחיר לא כבד מצום. התקפה רבת היקף על הרשות הפלסטינית. תביא אותם לפחד שהכל מתמוטט.
לא פוחדים, אבל אז השוק מהעולם יגיד מה, אתם כובשים?
לא תגיד כלום, העולם יגיד שלנו.
אתה לא מפחד מהעולם, ביבי.
במיוחד היום עם אמריקה, אני יודע מה זה אמריקה. אמריקה זה לא שאפשר להזיז אותו בקלות, ולהזיז לכיוון הנכון.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. This is a dictator who has used these weapons of mass destruction against his subjects and his neighbors. And this is a tyrant who is feverishly trying to acquire nuclear weapons. A year after September 11th, I am certain that this great nation possesses the three types of courage needed to defeat the monstrous evil that now confronts us. President Bush has shown courage by boldly charting a course to victory.
The terrorists attacked us and killed 3,000 of our citizens before we started the freedom agenda in the Middle East.
And most of all, the American people have summoned the necessary courage to fight back and to win.
We owe it to our children's children, to free the world from weapons of mass destruction in the hands of those who hate freedom. Weapons of mass destruction in the hands of leaders such as Saddam Hussein are very dangerous for ourselves, our allies.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories concerning the attacks of September the 11th.
In my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again for the truth to sink in. The main reason we went into Iraq at the time was we thought he had weapons of mass destruction. It turns out he didn't. What did Iraq have to do with what?
The attack on the World Trade Center.
Nothing.
When you found out there were no weapons of mass destruction, can you bring me to that moment? Did someone walk in and say, we've stopped looking, they're not there?
No. Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we.
It's not a question of whether Iraq's regime should be taken out, but when should it be taken out? It's not a question of whether you'd like to see a regime change in Iran, but how to achieve it.
I frankly think that crisis initiation is really tough. And it's very hard for me to see how the United States president can get us to war with Iran. Which leads me to conclude that if, in fact, compromise is not coming, that the traditional way of America gets to war is what would be best for U.S. interests. Some people might think that Mr. Roosevelt wanted to get us into World War II, as David mentioned. You may recall we had to wait for Pearl Harbor. Some people might think Mr. Wilson wanted to get us into World War I. You may recall he had to wait for the Lusitania episode. Some people might think that Mr. Johnson wanted to send troops to Vietnam. You may recall we had to wait for the Gulf of Tonkin episode. We didn't go to war with Spain until until the Maine exploded. And may I point out that Mr. Lincoln did not feel he could call out the Federal Army until Fort Sumter was attacked, which is why he ordered the commander at Fort Sumter to do exactly that thing which the South Carolinians had said would cause an attack. So if, in fact, the Iranians aren't going to compromise, it would be best if somebody else started the war. But I would just like to suggest that one can combine other means of pressure with sanctions. I mentioned that explosion on August 17th. We could step up the pressure. I mean, look, people, Iranian submarines periodically go down. Someday one of them might not come up. Who would know why? We can do a variety of things if we wish to increase the pressure. I'm not advocating that, but I'm just suggesting that this is not a either-or proposition. It's just sanctions has to succeed or other things. We are in the game of using covert means against the Iranians. We could get nastier at that.
I once said to the heads of the CIA when I was prime minister that if you want to advance regime change in Iran, you don't have to go through the CIA cloak and dagger stuff. What you want to do is take very large, very strong transponders and just beam Melrose Place and Beverly Hills 2050 and all that into Tehran and into Iran, because that is subversive stuff. They watch it, the young kids watch it. Israel acted because we understood, that a nuclear armed Saddam would place our very survival at risk. And today the United States must destroy the same regime. He will attempt to launch his remaining missiles, his remaining payloads, including biological and chemical payloads, at the Jewish state. I believe and I know that I speak and reflect the sentiment of not just the majority, but the overwhelming majority of Israelis in supporting a preemptive strike against Saddam's regime. On some things, you just do the right thing. And I think America is about to do the right thing.
But America and Britain wanted war. President Bush and Prime Minister Blair did not care, and they invaded anyway. Now, as we all know, there were no weapons of mass destruction. The CIA's final report confirmed that just 2 years later, in 2005.
I just want to ask what your message is to the Iraqi people who are wondering.
You're free, and freedom is beautiful. And, it'll take time to restore chaos and order, but we're order out of chaos, but we will. Yeah, John.
Because in the polls, you are now sort of
Could care less.
You don't care?
No.
Whether people think you're favorable or unfavorable?
The only time I really cared was on election day.
So I wrote a book in 1995, and I said that if the West doesn't wake up to the suicidal nature of militant Islam, the next thing you'll see is the militant Islam is bringing down the World Trade Center.
The Israeli newspaper Ma'ariv has reported Israel's former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has publicly said the September 11th attacks have been good for Israel. Netanyahu said, quote, "We're benefiting from one thing, and that is the attack on the Twin Towers and Pentagon and the American struggle in Iraq."
The main reason we went into Iraq at the time was we thought he had weapons of mass destruction. It turns out he didn't. What did Iraq have to do with what?
The attack on the World Trade Center.
Nothing.
I mean, I spent the last 9 months of my military career, the last 9 months of 9 years, unexcused absence, UA, or the equivalent to AWOL on active duty, because I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't put on the uniform and pretend that I believed in these things anymore. And so I left, and I still was given an honorable discharge. I'm not exactly sure how that worked out, but basically I left because I couldn't do it anymore, and I knew that what I'd been told was a lie. I knew that I couldn't trust any order given to me without questioning. I stopped thinking like a soldier, and once you stop thinking like a soldier, I think it's your duty to get out, to make sure that you're not put in a situation where you are questioning every order you're given, no matter how insignificant it is, because you've been lied to all the way from the top. From the weapons of mass destruction, we were lied to. From the ties to Al-Qaeda, we were lied to. And we were sent to Iraq on false premise. And how can you ever follow a chain of command that's willing to send you to war based on lies?
Things that our unit did and things that the military did in Iraq, as far as killing civilians. For example, when IEDs would go off and prove the explosive devices by the side of the road, the instructions were, or the practice was, to basically shoot up the landscape, anything that moved, and that kind of thing would happen a lot.
Is that something of you personally, or was it something that was drilled into you by the military?
I mean, that's why they call them Haji. I mean, you gotta desensitize yourself from them. They're not people. They're animals.
What upset you the most about the things that happened in Iraq?
The total disregard for human life. I mean, I would have to say it was... I mean, you do what you do because at the time you feel like you need to, but then to watch it get kind of covered up and shoved under a rug and, oh, that didn't happen.
What kind of abuses were going on that you experienced?
Well, I mean, I've seen innocent people being killed. IEDs go off and you just zap any farmer that's close to you. Hit them with the 50 or the Mark 19. Those people are out there trying to make a living. I don't know, overall, just the total disregard, how they basically jam into your head, this is Haji, this is Haji. You totally take the human being out of it and make them a video game, a target.
Your superiors were doing that? Your commanders?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Up to what level?
I mean, everybody. And if you start looking at them as humans and stuff like that, well, God, how are you going to kill them?
I don't feel like I'm defending my country anymore, and that kind of sucks. And that's the whole purpose when you're a kid to join the Army. A lot of people feel it's like, defend your country, but we're not defending our country anymore. I know we haven't defended our country in a while.
I mean, I had a personal experience after one of the talks that I did with a man. He came up to me after that, and he told me he was an Iraqi man, and he said that he was from the area around Balad, and I was stationed in Balad, and I just couldn't help it. Just all of a sudden, I hugged the guy, and I said that I was sorry, that I was so sorry, and I ended up crying right there to this perfect stranger, and he told me it was okay. He told me it was okay. And that was redemption. That was redemption. And it was beautiful.
Those weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere. Nope, no weapons over there. Maybe under here.